Yes, people, it's been a while. Sorry that I've been a bit busy and unwell to be able to keep up with my normal shows, but I'm back now. I've got two very special guests, and this is a preview for the Arsenal Liverpool game on Sunday. I'm excited. Obviously, our record is not great against these guys in recent years, but the way that we're playing right now, both respective teams, I think there's definitely, a conversation to be had about us being the form team. So let's get into it. We're going to be discussing the game, what our thoughts are, and hope you guys enjoy. Let's go. Yes, everyone, welcome to another session of GunnerKing's Court. I've got two very special guests today, two Liverpool fans, and we're going to be discussing the game on Sunday. And I think what I'll do is I'll start with Scaife, give you a chance to tell everyone on my show a bit about yourself, where we can find you. And then, over to Romz to do the same thing as well, just to kind of promote your channels as well.
Yeah, mate, sounds good. Well, my name's George, or Scaife51. You'll find me on TikTok, YouTube, moving over to Twitch, hopefully. I've been a Liverpool fan all my life. I give match reactions, player ratings. I think that's why people kind of know me. Moving over to YouTube, though, into kind of career modes. Got a Liverpool career mode coming out, so shameless plug if you want to check that one out. But yeah, all things Liverpool, really, myself. Thank you.
Nice. And yourself, Romz?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gunner King. That's my Twitter and Instagram. That's where you'll find me on all socials. But in terms of content, I'm Saint LFC TV's co-host, and you'll also find me on the Jerry James Show and the Football Terrence here and there as well. But that's where you'll find me.
Nice, yeah. And what we'll make sure to do is put the links of everyone's socials into the comment section of the video at the end. I mean, obviously, Romz, I've seen a little less of your content, but we met when we were on the Football Terrace. And Scaife's content on TikTok, you should check it out. Like, really good content as well. But yeah, guys, this weekend, I mean, whenever I go into an Arsenal versus Liverpool game over the years, I think we haven't scored against you in the league in like 2 years, something like that. It's not been good. Like, I've just kind of chalked it off to the ether, like another 3 points for Liverpool, and just kind of look to the next fixture or the fixtures before just to see what we can do. But I think the way things have started this season, I think I'd rather look at it from the perspective of our performances than kind of stick the knife in with you guys. I think we've been exceptional. I think we've played 10 games, won 9. Goal difference of plus 16. Martinelli being like the top dribbler in the league. Jesus, the goals and assists that he's got, the way that he's lifted the team. William Saliba, in terms of his performances at the back, I think have been exceptional. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. We find ourselves top of the table, when we probably expected to be in a top 4 race. Not to say that I don't think we'll win the league the way Haaland's carrying on at the moment, but I think we've acquitted ourselves very well. And I would say, that I still think it'll be a tough game because it's Liverpool. It's always tough, but I don't think I felt this confident going into a Liverpool game, like, since probably before the Klopp era began, to be honest. But I was looking to kind of get your thoughts, like in terms of, where you guys are at the moment, and how much sort of confidence you feel that you've got going into that game.
Do you want to start this game?
Yeah, mate, that's no problem. Well, I mean, let's not beat around the bush, no lie. It's been a dry start, hasn't it? One of the worst starts to the season, possibly the worst start actually under Klopp. Conceding cheap goals cheap goals that can just be solved like an easy plug, mainly down the right hand side, which we all know Trent is possibly in his worst bit of form, ever. What a great player as well, great talent, natural talent as well. Probably one of the most technically gifted players I've ever seen in my life. Who's just struggling with a bit of form, coming up against Martinelli, who, as you alluded to before, the top dribbler in the league. He's on a great bit of form, and what he did to Liverpool last year as well. I know Liverpool got the result, but that side, he was pretty terrorising down Trent's side. So I think that'll be the matchup. And in terms of Liverpool in form, that last game in the Champions League, I was happy with it. I don't know about you, Romz. I was really happy with it. That new system, the 4-2-4. I think the system itself, which we'll probably get into later, it's got its limitations, which I think might become unpicked against Arsenal, against a good side, against someone like Rangers when we got most of the possession. We're favourites to win that game at home. We were going to control the game, and it works. So I'm interested to see what Klopp's going to start. If he's going to go for this 4-2-4, 4-4-2 kind of thing, all back to the tested 4-3-3. And then again, who's going to start in the midfield? Because Fabinho has been poor this season. It's no lie, massive Fabinho fan. I think he's one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League of all time. I really do believe that. But Henderson has come in, played a great game against Rangers. For me, man of the match against Rangers after a bit of time out. So that's what I think. I think it'll be interesting to see what Klopp starts. That's the main thing for me.
Yeah, just to echo what George said, it's for me. I'm not actually sure what we go because the 4-2-3-1 looked very attractive, or 4-2-4, whatever you want to call it, against Rangers, and
it kind of transitioned between the two.
Exactly. Say we had both, and it was a great result. We needed a win because I think in Champions League, if you win all your home games, puts you in good stead to progress to knockout stages. But with all due respect to Rangers, massive club, massive fan base, but there's a golfing quality between us. So I can only take so much out of that game. It was nice for Trent to score that world-class free kick, give him a bit more confidence. Also Salah on the score sheet. The only worrying thing was maybe we didn't score from open play, but I'm nitpicking. First, primarily, we needed to win, and we won. But Arsenal's a completely different outfit. Top of the league, your confidence is just sky high, and I just worry that I don't want to revert back to type. I think George will agree. I don't want to go back to that 4-3-3 because you're right. It's then not only that they will target the right-hand side, because it's the right-hand side player for me, Hendo will start. But let's say he goes with Elliot. Elliot's quite incompetent to that position, and it's not necessarily his fault. Klopp was playing him on the right wing all throughout pre-season, then you're putting him into an 8 role where that's just foreign to him. He's not accustomed to that role at all. And now you're asking him to do things that he's never really done for his age. So it is a big ask. And he's not that defensively disciplined. And then you've got Trent, like George alluded to earlier, that's in his worst form ever. Fantastic player, but he is in his worst form. So if you've got, and Hendo's been a big protector of Trent for the last 3-4 years. He's, I'm not going to say a lot of the reason, but he's some of the reason why Trent has so much license to go forward, because he's so good at covering that right back position. But I just feel if we revert back to 4-3-3, we'll get dominated on the right hand side. But if we go to 4-2-3-1, Arsenal will overload the midfield. Because like I was saying to you earlier, Gunnar, Arteta is a graduate of, let's say, the Pep school, and he loves his fullbacks to be inverted and join the midfield. And Zinchenko, I believe, Zinchenko ought to in the either or, but I do think Zinchenko might get the nod ahead of him. And Ben White, both of them are so versatile. They're essentially CDMs anyway. So them overloading that midfield, that could also nullify Salah and a Diaz, because they'll then have to join the midfield to help our midfield out. But that takes away from their attacking prowess. So it's interesting. I still do want to see 4-2-3-1, but Klopp's going to have to be brave. He might have to tell Salah to cheat and stay wide and not necessarily help out, because we would want to be quick on the transition. But I'm not that confident, but there's a possibility we could switch it around. But to go to Arsenal, I've been fortunate enough to go to one Arsenal game, like I told you earlier, Gunnar, and the atmosphere there, how we make you feel at Anfield the last 4 or 5 years is how I feel you not necessarily will, but you could make us feel. I think the 12th man at the Emirates this season, you're sky high. You have no reason to not feel confident coming into this game. But whether there could be your players could think it's Liverpool, but that's when I think Arteta's done so well. He's changed that mentality now, and we were beating younger Arsenal teams. Now you've actually got experienced players in your Zinchenko's, in your Parties, in your Gabriel Jesus's, and your Xhakas. So this Arsenal team isn't the young old Arsenal we've beat the last 3-4 years. So it will be very interesting. But it's for both teams, it's going to be a difficult game. We're not Spurs. We're not Leicester, where I don't think you're going to put many past us. But yeah, it'll be a good game, man.
Add into that. Sorry, mate. In terms of the formation in the 4-2-4, 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it. I think we've got to play it. For me, I think it's more down to the system. I think if you look at someone like when we play Wolves last season before, they tend to play with these wingers, and they pin Trent and Robertson back, and that's twofold. That's one, to obviously be an outlet as well for that long ball, that diagonal ball, which I believe we will do on Sunday, and two, to pin the fullbacks back and stop them travelling up the pitch. Liverpool's, on form or not, Liverpool's fullbacks, where the goals come from, the crossing into the box to Darwin Núñez. Jota has a great record against Arsenal. Jota, who's actually great in the air. So nullifying Trent and Robertson will be a key point Arteta looks at. But Liverpool have to do that to Arsenal this time. The roles are flipped for me. You've got to pin Zinchenko back and stop him, like you said, could become an inverted, come into midfield. And I said in my video the other day, it's not for me a praise on Zinchenko that. I think Tierney's a better fullback. I think Zinchenko's defensively weak. I don't think he's very good in tackle, and I think he can be found out. It's more a praise on the system Arteta's implemented there, and not Zinchenko. But that's what I think. I think Salah's got to work his ass off. Be clipping Zinchenko's heels and really stop him from moving. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, really. And the thing is, I think Trent genuinely is one of the most misunderstood players in the Premier League. I've always said this. Everyone's been throwing their 2 cents in about Liverpool. I mean, Skate's probably seen it. I mean, TikTok's it's very fickle. Like, there's a younger generation. It can be a bit of a free fall. Sometimes I play into it, but I've not had a word to say about Liverpool. And the reason is, right, for me, I think if you understand Liverpool's build-up structure, which I feel I do, like, you would understand. And I think Klopp said it in the pre-match interview or the post-match interview against Brighton the other day. I tactically instruct Trent to be further forward as a fullback. Last season, he had more touches and created more chances actually inside the opposition's box than any other fullback in Europe. So how can you expect someone to be that high up the pitch when your defensive line is also the first or the second highest in the league as well? Like, I've looked at the stats, like average per 90 stats of how high a defensive line is. Liverpool's, ours, and City's and Chelsea's are right up there, like with Man City and yours being the highest. Yeah. So if your defensive line is higher, so they would be the players that would come and fill in when Trent marauders forward. And if Trent's being instructed to get forward more, he's playing as a wide playmaker. He's not a fullback per se, So when people say things like he can't defend, I just instantly switch off. I'm like, this person doesn't have a clue, like, because in a one-on-one situation, when he's fit and when he's well rested, and that's another point I'm going to get to in a minute, I think he's fine. Like, he can offer something defensively. Yes, he's a midfielder that converted to a fullback, so he's not going to offer you what Ben White would defensively, who's a centre back playing as a right back, But the whole putting the emphasis on Trent and not the system, because it's a drawback of the system that he gets exposed, because anyone will just play the ball behind him or Robbo when they get forward. The thing is, it's a two-pronged situation, because if you pin back your fullbacks, you isolate them, as Scave said, from your attacking players, so they're starved of service as well. But
and our fullbacks are our biggest creators. So
I think it's overplayed massively. I think Trent is going through a difficult time, but I think he will come back from this. I've always said that, and I do think Liverpool needed to change their system a bit, 100%. And that's why I was interested when I watched the Rangers game. I saw Jota getting a lot closer to Nunes. I think what scares me, if I'm being honest, if he uses that same system and puts Jota up front, the form that Firmino's been in, even though you've not been at your best this season, putting Firmino behind Jota and then going with Fabinho and either Hendo or Thiago, I think is the answer. You know, like if I was.
Do you know what could even? I can't say now actually because he's still quite new to the club. But you know what you just said in the typical number 10, how Jota was close to Nunes and we caused Rangers problem, albeit it was Rangers, but you feel we could cause you problem with that. I feel we can as well, but there's actually a player that caters to that 100%, but he's still new to the club. Fabio Carvalho, for me, he's not. I've waxed lyrical about him. I'm not going to act like I watched Fulham all of last season, but the minute we were linked with him and we were supposed to get it done in January, I started to watch all because we pretty much knew we would sign him in the summer. So I started to watch all their games from January onwards. And he played in the middle with Mitrovic just ahead of him, and Bobby Reed and Cabana would like be either side, or Harry Wilson and whatnot. And most of Mitrovic's goals, Carvalho's right next to him, and he assisted, I think it was 43% of Mitrovic's goals. Right. And even Carvalho's output last season, I think he got 11 championship goals. But even pre-season, and I don't know if you watched many of the games, George, but I watched pretty much all of them. Yeah. And Nunes scored 4 goals in a game against Leipzig, and a lot of his goals, Carvalho either created, made a decoy run. He would just touch tap to Nunes, and he assisted.
Intelligent.
Yeah, do you remember the goal where he even ran inside and
I know what you mean,
Nunes did the reverse run. He opened up to he could have taken a shot because it opened up for him to shot and he cut it back and then Nunes shot and he scored. And I think if we can incorporate Carvalho into that 10, not this game, I think Emirates would be maybe too much of a daunting proposition for Carvalho right now. But I think moving forward, let's say we revisit Emirates next year, I think if we was to play a 4-2-3 on Carvalho in that 10, you would see a very dangerous outfit from us. Because I think if there's one player that suits the 10 to a T for me right now not right now, but going forward in our system, it's not Bobby, it's not a Jota, it's Carvalho. I think he's best in that 10. And it was evident at Fulham, and it was evident in pre-season.
He'll still have the legs to do like the pressing work off the ball as well. Exactly. Like when the shape's got to be a bit more compact, he's going to be able to kind of drop in. You know, like
here's another example.
Freeman midfield again.
Here's another example, Gunner, as well. Remember when me and you both watched the Charity Shield game together, right? Actually, I think you may have come a bit later. I think you came towards the end, and even the cameo Carvalho had, him and Nunes were causing City havoc. He was, I think he assists. He was in the build-up to one of Nunes' goals against City, so he loves playing just in that role. If you just let him do what he likes to do, but in the last 3-4 years, that's not how we play. We have the industrial midfield three that all have to work. Yeah. Klopp can sometimes nullify the technical abilities of a player due to fit his system. And no one's complaining because we've won the Champions League, we won the Prem for it. But now to evolve, we might have to come away from that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I think I think when Wijnaldum went, I feel like Thiago, as we were saying on Nigerian Englishman's channel earlier. Yeah. Like, I think Thiago bringing in a player from a perspective of headcount was a replacement, but in terms of like a profile match with Wijnaldum, it wasn't. What it brought you was more of a playmaking ability, like more creativity from a deeper pocket. But what you lose is some of that intensity, that bite, that physicality. That athleticism.
Consistency. Wijnaldum was always an 8 out of 10. It was a 7 out of 10. Wijnaldum was never below a 4 or 5. Never once.
Never. You know what was key, George, as well? I was saying earlier as well. Availability is an attribute, and Wijnaldum, I can't remember him ever being out for longer than a week or 2. Whereas Thiago, as much as we love him, he's not always there when we need him to be, and it's very frustrating because his ability. It's like your Thomas Partey.
So vital to a midfield, but just not there enough to be dependable. And as good as he is, and they're both exceptional, both as players. But the moment you take them out of our midfields, our midfields lose a lot. The quality gap is massive.
I wouldn't even just say the midfield. I wouldn't even just say the midfield, Gunner King. I'll say the team as a collective. Like they literally make the team
glue.
tick. Yeah,
they're the glue. You know, that holds the midfield, the defense, and the attack. That kind of like they're the conduit between all three of the blocks. You know, like that's the thing. And I think
in terms of saying about the mid, you know, that one player like Partey affecting the whole team. I think Liverpool echo that with Fabinho. I think for me, Fabinho. Last season, I think generally he's our most important player. You could argue Van Dijk, defensive solidity. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, the ability to create goals. Mo Salah, the ability to score goals. But Fabinho, for me, when he's not there, it means Henderson is the DM. He's not a natural DM for me. You know, people say, "Oh, just play Henderson there." We signed Fabinho to replace Henderson because he wasn't good enough. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. And you lose Henderson out of the right central midfield position, like you were saying before, Romz, and then you're playing Elliott there, who's defensively naive, and then Trent gets exposed. It's a knock-on effect, and that happens up and down the country. Declan Rice is a main example as well at West Ham.
One thing I will say though, George, and you probably agree with me. I actually agree with everything you just said, but Hendo in the 6 isn't as bad as what you may think because his better performances last season came in the 6. Remember when we went to the San Siro, not the AC Milan game, I think the Inter Milan game. And then it's not hard to be great against United last season, but he also did well at Old Trafford in the 6. And there was a few other examples, but his better for me. He suffered in the 8 last season for whatever reason. I don't know, but he suffered more in the 8. And this season he suffered in the 8 as well. But I think now I agree with you. You want Fabinho starting in the 6. I agree with you. I think he's on his day. He's one of the best DMs in.
Would you start him on Sunday, Fabinho?
I think you absolutely have.
So, say we play a 4-4-2, 4-2-4. The two midfielders, Thiago starts. Would you go Fabinho, Henderson? Do you go with the form player, arguably in Henderson, who had a great game against Rangers, or do you go with the destroyer, Fabinho, the solidity, who I personally would go with?
Yeah, I'm going with Fabinho.
Yeah.
I think when you play against the reason being because of our shape as well, we use a 3. So we don't Odegaard. People think Odegaard is a 10 and he's a 4-2-3-1. It transitions into that in build up, like when we're getting closer to the box. By all means, Odegaard has the right license to roam into that position, but it is essentially a midfield central 3. And I think when you look at the way Xhaka and Odegaard are playing at the moment, with Partey, who isn't really a traditional 6, you know, this guy can be inventive. He can thread passes, he can break lines, but he can also pick up the ball and drive into midfield to create a numerical, sort of superiority situation where you overload that way as well. You absolutely need Fabinho to deal with that.
Fabinho is the breaker of transition plays, isn't he? He's like the spider legs. You know, he's also gives that bit of bite as well, which you need against the likes of Xhaka and Partey, very aggressive midfielders. Someone like James Milner often gets criticised every time he touches the football. He's 36 now, however old he is. He gives you that bite. I like when he comes on, not for his technical ability, but for his sheer what he stands for in this team.
And George, you know what I think is absurd as well? When our fans complain Milner's coming on, he's not making the decision to come on. He's a professional. Up to him, he's gonna come on to the field. I don't understand when our fans go wild. I do agree. Maybe he shouldn't be a starting player for us. You could argue even coming off the bench, but you know he's going to give 100%. You know he's going to die for the shirt. And end of the day, it's not like he's saying to Klopp, bring me on to annoy the fan base. He's a professional. If he gets asked to play, he will play.
I think if I was from the outside looking in, I think Fabinho for like how our midfield is set up, I think would be the nailed on guy that can like sort of work towards a bit of containment of our central midfield. Yeah. But I think the toss-up is between Hendo and Thiago. I mean, Thiago gives you quality. You know, he gives service. You know, to the players in front of him. He's that metronome, isn't he? You know, like the guy that kind of keeps the possession of your team ticking. You know, like Odegaard is more of a further forward version of Thiago that's less refined as well. You know, nowhere near Thiago's quality, but Odegaard does the same for us. You know, like everything goes through him. You know, like when you're on the ball and you're looking to kind of, you know, progress it through the channels, everything just goes through Odegaard, and it's the same with Thiago. You want that, but but Hendo gives you leadership, and I think, he was good, against Rangers, and he also kind of gives you that experience, and he gives you a bit of tenacity, a bit more tenacity, I would say, than Thiago gives you as well. So do you change the shape? If you do, one of them's going to have to be sacrificed. If you do, it could leave you getting overrun in central midfield. But I think the risk reward of playing with that 4-2-3-1 that turns into a 4-2-4 is whether it's Nunes or Jota up front, they're getting more service. Salah doesn't have to stay as wide to get service to the front man, which can bring him more into that sort of narrow inside channel on the right-hand side, closer to where he can be more of a goal threat.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off. Like, wherever you look, like, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see what he does.
I was going to ask you, Gunner King, here. So, taking into account everything you just said, I watch Arsenal quite a bit because most of my family support them and whatnot, but I didn't actually realise that. So, when you set up, would you say out of your midfield three, Xhaka's the most advanced?
He's not the most advanced, but what he is he's far more advanced than he has been, like under previous managers. Yeah. And because if you're playing with Zinchenko,
you play the single pivot, don't you?
Yeah. So Partey would be the deepest player. There is fluidity for them to interchange as well.
Yeah.
But the main difference with Zinchenko is if he comes into midfield, that allows Xhaka to push even further forward.
Yeah,
and I think that's helped Xhaka a lot. And also with Odegaard last season, midway through, after we lost to you, actually, we were playing with the 4-2-3-1 before.
After the 2-0 loss.
After the 2-0, what Arteta did was he reverted Odegaard to playing more of an 8 role than being a 10, and he said, "Look, you've got to play closer to Xhaka in terms of, like, it's almost like they're flat, like the two of them, they're in line, and at any point one can go further forward than the other. If one goes forward between Oda and Xhaka, the other one will sit a little deeper. So that kind of brings that unpredictability of which one is going to be going forward and making that late arrival into the box." And that means that Xhaka doesn't have to do as much defensively, where he can be good, but he can miss time tackles. His discipline can go missing a bit, like when it comes to like the defensive side of the game. And these focal changes have meant that he's had to do less defensively, and he doesn't get exposed as much. So he does play further forward, but obviously when the transition breaks down, he has to come drop deeper as well.
Do you think Arteta will implement more of a disciplined, structured formation against us? Because you don't overcommit, and Liverpool not on form, but at the same time you've got Mo Salah there, one of the best counter-attacking front threes ever. Like, you don't want to give him a chance. So do you reckon you don't want to overcommit with Zinchenko? Like you were saying before, you don't want the interchange too much. You don't want Xhaka bombing on as much as he would do against other teams.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because when we played against Spurs, I think Spurs have got one of the best at counter-attacking front three in the Prem. And I think when you look at United and how they exposed us, like, we shouldn't have lost to United. That game still bothers me, but the way that United exploited us specifically was with those quick counter transitions. With Rashford, with Eriksen and Bruno kind of playing balls in behind for Rashford to get on the other end of. So I looked at that game and I immediately said, I wanted Tierney to start that game over Zinchenko, because I think technically Zinchenko is a better player overall. His technical ability supersedes Tierney's, but Tierney's not a million miles worse than Zinchenko technically, and he doesn't offer a million miles less going forward. Yeah. But what he offers you defensively, is absolute chalk and cheese. He's much better defensively. He's much more difficult to get behind. So I said for that game that I wanted us to start Tierney, and we didn't. We started Zinchenko, and I think Zinchenko did well in that game. But Tottenham they're not Liverpool. Even though people were saying Liverpool are not playing at their best, Salah's still one of the top chance creators in the league. Like
create the most chances, I think, or he's
Yeah.
joint now. But
no, I think he
he's
is.
up there
Yeah,
in the
like,
mention. Yeah.
he's like, for the trained eye, you'd be looking at him like he's still been causing trouble down that side. It's just he's having to adapt to playing wider, almost as a touchline player. Like, but he's not been playing badly. So I would I'd go with the same thing again. I'd want to start Tierney again, but he started Tierney yesterday. That might be to rest Zinchenko. But I think other than that, I wouldn't change very much. I think if we play the way that we do, and I think particularly like the left hand side, which would be attacking your right hand side. Me and Romz went through this. You look at the form of Martinelli. Zinchenko linking up with him kind of enables him quite a lot, and I think if that's the Achilles heel of your side, I wouldn't change anything on that side for that reason. So it's a toss up between the two. But everywhere else, like the other positions, I wouldn't change anything at the moment. I think I'd leave Ben White there. There is an argument that Gabriel's making mistakes at the moment. Gave away a penalty against Spurs. That gave away possession for the goal that Mitrovic scored against us with Fulham. But putting Ben White as centre back and bringing Tomiyasu in for that game, I think is a risk. I think we look at that pretty much like what you said with Carvalho, Romz. I think we look at that in the following games, against the likes of Forest, Leeds, Southampton. I don't think we make that change against Liverpool. So it's just that left side. What are we going to do with our fullbacks? How are we going to? What do we want to do? That's the only part of the team that I'm looking at where there's an argument for both sides, if it makes sense. For team.
Do you feel like us as fans are overlooking the battle on Liverpool's left-hand side? None of us have spoken about the battle between Diaz and as you were saying, Ben White. Diaz is Liverpool's best player right now. I can't find an argument apart from Alisson, perhaps. I think Romz, do you agree with me there?
I would say, yeah, outfield player, yes, but then you can make an argument. Cool, I agree with you. In terms of what he brings to the team, it's him, but I don't know if your stats contribute sometimes, but in terms of statistics, you would have to say Firmino, as mad as that sounds, because I know why you shake your head, because I get it, but overall, what he brings to the team and his efforts, it is Diaz. I agree with you.
In terms of someone who's going to grab the team back by the scruff of the neck and drag them over the line, numerous occasions this year, it's been Diaz. He's been the man. Scoring worldies from outside the box when we're 3-0 down. Was it Napoli or something? And he scored like a consolation goal. Just the effort. He doesn't stop running. I love him so much. And like I said about Firmino, in terms of contributions to goals, great, brilliant. I think Firmino is a limited footballer. I'm not going to go into Firmino. He's done endless things for this club, but I think
he's at the back of my shirt now. I adore it. You have that one favorite player.
I know, I know.
Sentiment aside, I know the end is near, or you could say
yeah. But in terms of contribution to the game in the play, I don't think Firmino's that guy. But in terms of contribution to in the goal, fair enough.
And to be fair, a lot of them came in that 9-0 win. Like, it's not like
that's it. Yeah.
A lot of them are in
that padding, yeah.
It can mislead, can't it? I think I definitely think with Diaz, he's got that real ability to expose Ben White on that side. And
he's very direct.
And Saliba plays on that side next to Ben White, so that's going to be a really interesting battle. And I think the thing that I loved, about the most recent Liverpool games is I've always said, and you're kind of seeing it come to fruition now. Like the last one or two performances, obviously there was the 4-0 last season where it was just like there's not much positives to take it, but I think the last few performances when you saw. I really enjoy watching the matchup with Martinelli and Trent. Like I play in Martinelli's position, like a left kind of inside forward as well, or inverted winger. So I just love seeing because I think just seeing how Martinelli was trying to get on the other side of Trent, but when he did, Van Dijk was there, and then he was having Lacazette in the box, who really wasn't effective for us, and I think. But watching that battle the last couple of games, that really has been the highlight for me, like of our matches, because it kind of has given me hope. I'm like, look, this is what he's doing now. He's like 20, he's 21 now. What's he going to be doing in a few years' time? And I think he's got like 3 goals, 2 assists as well in 8 games. I think so. He's added end product now, because I think that's the only thing that lets Martinelli down. I think he gets into these, and I think it's similar, but to a lesser extent with Diaz. He can beat his man. He can be really, really tricky. He can get into really good positions. But that final pass or that shot, because he's kind of blown off so much steam, getting into that position has kind of let him down a bit. And I think both of them have improved in that respect. You're seeing more end product now when they get into those positions. And I think these matchups make games for me, because I play in that position. Like the fullback shaping up, against the winger, and just seeing, just that battle, the tricks coming out, or just Trent, obviously his ability to pick out passes from deep. I think he picked us apart with one pass. Like we dominated you for 60 minutes. One pass from Trent changed everything. Like in that game at the Emirates. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to. I think, and I think you're right, Scaife. I think that there's so much focus on that Martinelli-Trent battle because of the battles that they've had. No one's really looking at Diaz and White, and also Saka, whether it's Robbo or Tsimikas, whoever's playing on the left side as well. Because Saka's starting to come into his own again now as well. So, that's where I'll be looking to, like the areas of the pitch the most for this game for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. But in terms of you guys, I mean, like, if you're looking at who starts in this game, because we kind of like touched on that like throughout the show. I mean, are you leaning towards being brave and going with that 4-2-3-1 or the 4-2-4? Do you stick with the 4-3-3 and maybe see how that works, and maybe give yourself the room to try the 4-2-4 if you're in a position where you're taking a winning goal or the game in general? Well, how do you think you guys approach this game, like in terms of how you start?
I was gonna say, would it be all right if I actually go from our 1 to 11? Because that's one thing we didn't actually do earlier. But I would start with the 4-2-3 on, because we know the narrative of our season when we've gone to the 4-3-3. It's a bit played out now, and we always get decimated on our right hand side. But I would go with the 4-2-3 on. The goal, Ali, no brainer. Like I said, without him, our goal difference might even be in the minus right now. Like, he has saved us in so many situations. Trent right back, and because I feel even if you do pin our fullbacks, Trent has so much ability. He's his best in, because I've heard from some of our fans. But he's not going to get forward. Trent's creativity never comes in the final third, really, anyway. It's normally in the half spaces, or the ball we even played to Jota at the Emirates was kind of in our own half. So he's at his most dangerous, probably in the half space, but he can be dangerous in our own half as well. He doesn't always have to, he never really creates final third, because how many times have we seen Trent hit the byline or overlap? He rarely does that. So I start Trent right midfield, and I think he'll be key for set pieces as well. Even though Arsenal's been one of the best teams, I think you're top of that metric or in the top 3. But goals conceded, it's been, I don't think you've even conceded a set piece this season, but maybe one. But my midfield, my centre back pairing, look, the fact you have to think, I think it's either one or you haven't. But Dijk and Matip for me. Had Konate have been fit, I would have started him for this game, because he's more accustomed to Matip. Yeah, only reason because I feel like as good as Matip is, and this is a compliment to Matip, because he's so intelligently smart positionally wise, you rarely see him running back to goal. But when he does, it's like someone running in treacle. Like, he is slow. That's his only attribute that isn't to his advantage because he's got so much tactical now. He rarely gets caught out. But this season we have because we're not that pressing monster that we once were. Teams are either playing once we do try and press, we're leaving holes in the middle, or teams are playing over the top and we're getting caught out quite a bit. But yeah, Matip and Dak.
I would something on that as well. I'll add to that as well. I'll ask you a question actually, Romz. Put it to you. You'll hear this question. You'll think, "What the hell are you on about, George?" What about Konate and for Van Dijk? Matip's been our best centre back this season. Van Dijk's never been dropped.
George, this is the first time I'm meeting you, but I've been saying that. I've been saying Dijk should get dropped in a certain game. I just know from that comment, me and you, we think the same.
Yeah. It's such a taboo subject. No one speaks about it, do they? He's so protected, Van Dijk.
I think like him returning from injury is dovetailed with this need to change the system, and like he's so important to covering for Trent when Trent is bombing forward. And I think credit to him, he's still comfortably the best centre back in the league. But coming back from the injury he came back from, I think what people haven't really seen is that you have to play back into fitness and into form. For anyone who's played football, they'll know this. Like you're not going to come back the same. But from an injury of that nature, at his age as well, like whilst there's so much flux happening with Mane leaving and your, some players in your central midfield aging, Gigi leaving, I think all of this is perfect stormed to a situation where you are seeing Van Dijk getting exposed, a bit this season. I think.
Do you know why it's a bit backward, GunnerKing? Like, I haven't personally, but my brothers did his ACL, and a lot of the general consensus from a lot of the doctors, your season back is normally the one you're not that good. It's your second season where you got. It was the inverse with Dijk. The minute he came back from that knee injury, I think he was sublime. Actually, maybe not sublime because there were certain games last season he was a bit lackadaisical, but overall he was excellent last season. It's now this season that this should be the season where he picks up again, but I'm not going to say declining, but he's out of form this season. That's the only confusing thing. But I agree with George. If we wasn't playing Arsenal, if Europe wasn't the opposition, if it wasn't Arsenal, I would actually chuck Konate straight back in. But to chuck him in a magnitude of this game,
I agree with you,
it doesn't make sense. But I completely agree with you, Seth, because Matip and Konate are best on that left-hand side. But because Dijk plays there, they both have to go right. But both of them are actually better on that left-sided centre-back role. And the left-back's a no-brainer. Robbo's not fit, so it is Tsimikas. And even if Robbo was fit...
Robbo's not fit.
No, he's not been fit. He's been training, but he's not fit enough to start. He'll probably be on the bench. But, and I know why you're making that face, because Robbo's actually had the beating of Saka. Normally he gets the better of Saka. He's kind of Saka's kryptonite. So a lot of Liverpool fans are saying, even if Robbo's fit, they stick with Tsimikas. But that's one player I would chuck straight in because
Tsimikas is very underrated, though.
I agree with you.
I think he's very underrated. Tsimikas.
Yeah. No, I rate him highly, but I just mean for this game, I think Saka will put it out this. Saka will have more joy against Simi than Robbo. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Just for this game. But that's the thing with Klopp, though. Once Robbo comes back, he won't get dropped again. That's what Klopp does. But because Robbo's not 100% fit, I would say it will be Simi in that left back, bro. And then I'll say the two holding, which we alluded to earlier, George, would be. Let me know if you.
That's the biggest quandary, I think.
What he does
in the midfield, I think that's the biggest quandary. The biggest by far.
It is big. And let's say we are ahead or we're drawing, and then we need Hendo to come in and shore up things. That's when Hendo does get minutes in this game. But I think to start is Fabinho and Thiago because they only lost one game starting to with each other last season, and it was the Champions League final. They didn't lose when they started the game together. They didn't lose last season. They're exceptional together.
The word now.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all, actually.
But and I would say
it gives that aggression, that fight, doesn't it, as well? Like you were saying before. And Henderson to come off the bench and show things, brilliant. We've never really had that, to be honest. We've never had a starting central midfielder who can come in and actually be a decent level. I don't think Naby Keita's been that guy. I don't think Chamberlain's been that guy for his, the consistency he's not offered at all. I don't think Harvey Elliott's the guy who's going to come in and shore things up. Great, he's going to come in and offer a bit more in the attack. Look at that formation we played against Rangers. The position Salah was playing, he was playing wide, he was coming deep. I think that that position suits Elliott to a T. I think he can really excel himself in that position there. He can carry the ball forward. His progressive carries, he's in the top 5% in the league. I saw this morning. I feel confident now. The fact giving him the ball, he can turn. I want him to believe in himself more as well. So I think Elliott is a great choice as well to come off the bench.
Yeah, that's actually true. But that's actually very true. That I think with Elliott, a lot of fans have been harsh on him, but I think Klopp hasn't done him any justice as well. I think this is more on Klopp than Elliott. Elliott's playing in a position where, and to be fair, maybe Klopp has enough trust in him to put him in that 8. Maybe he wants him to be more versatile or be able to play that position if need be. But you're taking away from a lot of his qualities. That's my only problem I have with Elliott playing in that 8 role. But my front four would be, I'm gonna say Bobby in the 10, Jota up top, and Diaz, Salah on the right, Diaz on the left, and Nunes will come off. I'll say Nunes to come off. Nunes and Hendo will probably be 2 nailed on subs.
Yeah, I do agree with you. The only thing is, I think we're gonna have to play direct against Arsenal. I think we've got to target Gabriel and kind of pin him. I think Nunes is the guy to do that. But then again, Jota scored. Was it twice against you in the last fixture? And he's just coming back, isn't he? Now he's been sat on the bench a few weeks now.
Since he's come back, since he's come to Liverpool, George, I was saying this to GunnerKing earlier. It's Jota 5, Arsenal 1. He scored. He scored 5 goals.
That's why he plays.
That's why 6 and 6 against us. This guy, man. I'm just like,
it's 8 and 11, and then it's 5 goals in the Prem. All competitions is 8 goals in 11. It's sublime. And I don't know what it is about Arsenal, but all of our forward players seem to just love playing against them. I know Salah's, I think, on 7+ goals. Firmino's on like 9+. I think if he scores tomorrow,
Mane scored on his debut against us in like less than a couple of minutes.
Exactly.
Long day, man. Honestly, man.
It's crazy. And that's why, even since we streamed Gunner about 2-3 hours ago, the more I think of this game, as good as Arsenal are, this could kind of be a mental boost. There's certain clubs that you love playing against, and I know you lot are sky high right now. You're firing on all cylinders, but Firmino and Jota might think to themselves, as good as Arsenal are, we can be their kryptonite. We love playing against this opposition.
Yeah.
But there's context to this. The personnel has changed. It's not the Mustafis, the David Luiz, the Maitland-Niles anymore. It's the Saliba's, the Gabriels, the Partey's. That's the only difference.
Our squad's still relatively young, though, and I think you saw obviously an all or nothing, like Arteta playing You'll Never Walk Alone when before we were going to play you and then we lost 4-0, like a lot was made of that. Like, I think it can go one of two ways. Like the young players, I think, even though we're at home, they're going to feel that pressure, and I think the fact that we are top, the fact that, we hear what people say, like, oh, you're only top because you haven't played anyone good. Look what happened the moment you played a Big Six club. You lost to United. Fair enough, you beat Spurs. Now the narrative is, but are Spurs even a big club? My answer would be no. Like, the goalposts are always moving. So, like, I feel like to be taken seriously, even as a top 40 or a team that is aspiring to get top 4, I think there comes a point where we need to do something about this record against Liverpool. And I think, like as I said, I think we're in a better position now than we have been under the whole of Klopp's era. But they're still kids, like Martinelli, Saka, Saliba is 21. Ramsdale's only like 24. He's not had, I think that he's made a few lapses in the games that we've had against you, Ramsdale, especially, so that might play on his mind. Tierney's been in a few of those, the wrong side of it. He's only 24, 25, still relatively young for a defensive player. White is the same. So are they going to be able to deal with that pressure? Like, now you're on top, I'm not sure when City are playing this weekend. If they've played before us and probably won, that puts pressure more on us.
3 o'clock. Yeah, they're at 3 o'clock.
So they're playing before us.
Yeah, that's tomorrow 3 o'clock.
So I'd expect that game to apply the pressure on if they win it as well. And I think, it's going to be a high pressure situation, like the highest pressure that they've been under so far this season. And I think United and Spurs, okay, we lost to United, but given the form we're in, they're a team we're expected to beat. And we had beaten them the last time we played them. Spurs, we always beat them at home. They always beat us away. You know, that's the way it's always played out. So playing at the Emirates, yes, it was a high pressure game, but that kind of took the pressure off of it, you know, especially with the way Spurs are playing. And yes, Liverpool are playing badly, but they're Liverpool and they got this record against us, which is very good. And I think this is definitely going to be the most pressure they've been under this season. And they're either going to be fueled by that kind of like that sense of vendetta where they want to kind of get one back on you guys, or they're going to buckle under that pressure.
Yeah.
And like,
there's no in between.
No,
yeah,
there won't be. There never is with us. There's never an in between, you know. Like, and it's I think that's my concern, you know, like with the players that we've got.
The only thing that worries me in our 10, how many games have we played this season? 7 in the 7 in the league and 3 in the Champions League. I think so in our 10 games we've played, bar Bournemouth, like I said to you earlier, bar Bournemouth, Rangers, and Everton, because it was goalless, we've conceded first in all of our games. And you lot have won games in your first half. So ideally, the two don't match. If the game is played how I just said, Arsenal blow us away in the first half, I don't think will happen. But this is why I think the first goal is crucial. If we can get the first goal, I think we will get a goal. I think we'll get a draw minimum. And I know the mentality has shifted with Arsenal, and I know what Arteta's done with the mentality of the team, and even in the stadium. Because I was saying earlier, George, to Gunner King, I went to the Arsenal Fulham game, and they went 1 goal behind, and the crowd started singing, started chanting. You would think Arsenal scored the goal. Like, the mentality is just different. The 12th man is so influential now. But I do feel we're not Fulham, and as much as we're in poor form, we've got winners. We've got the know-how. We've got that mentality. So I feel if we get the first goal, we can get a draw minimum. I think we will get a draw minimum. But if Arsenal get the first goal, I think it goes 1. I can't even see us salvaging a draw. I just think with the crowd behind them, first goal, Arsenal they'll be a force to be reckoned with, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's going to be tough, man. But yeah, like, I think the last thing that I wanted to maybe do, just based on current form at the moment.
Of course we're doing this on current form. I had to throw in the current form in.
It's definitely not going to be overall, is it? Like, I don't think. I mean, you know, like Liverpool these last couple of years. I don't think there's an argument for anyone. You know, like if we look at it from an overall perspective, but I guess, like, you know, if we were to look at form, I mean, do you think, are there any players that you guys look at, you know, in Arsenal's team that you think probably make the 11 at the moment?
I think most of them get in, to be honest. Arsenal players. I don't know about you. I think it's quick to say which Liverpool players make it in. I think Diaz walks in. But then again, over Martinelli, you know, you have to make it work somehow. You probably couldn't drop Saka in that team. You'd probably have to play Firmino in that team as well, which I'm not sure Gunner you'd be mad at putting Firmino in that team on the form he's been on. I'm obviously joking. Gabriel Jesus has to play.
That's what I was thinking. I was trying to make sure.
Odegaard or
phenomenon. Gabriel Jesus.
On current form, I have 2
certainties. Diaz.
See, my 2 certainties are Alisson and Matip. I think Matip goes in ahead of
Gabriel.
Yeah. Diaz and Martinelli, you wouldn't argue either or. They've got the same GA. They're both influential. Like you alluded to earlier, Gunner King, both of their end product has improved massively. That one's a toss of a coin, but I think our 2 certainties are definitely Alisson and Matip. But I think the midfield 3 on current form, this is not overall, but on current form, I just make it straight Xhaka, Odegaard, and Partey.
Yeah.
And I feel the front 3, only Diaz has a real say, and that's a toss-up.
Salah as well. Saka over Salah at the moment.
Yeah, current form. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. George might have a different opinion. But...
difficult, isn't it? I'd probably go, if I could swap them around, I'd go Martinelli, Diaz, and Jesus. But obviously, if you don't want to put two left wingers in, I'm happy with that. But Salah, I don't know. I'd have to concede it. I couldn't get Salah in that team, me. Couldn't fit him in.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, he's going to come back good. I think, yeah, the players that I look at definitely would be Alisson without a question.
I think someone like Harvey Elliott's very unlucky not to be in this conversation. Been absolutely superb this season for me, Harvey Elliott. I'll throw that in there.
I like Elliott. It was unfortunate, like when he got his injury last season. You know,
he was our best player at the start of last season as well, wasn't he?
Yeah,
for them 7 games.
Yeah, until he got the injury. But I'll ask you this: would you say, if you had to take your Liverpool hat off, would you say he's been better than Xhaka or Odegaard? That's the only thing, because I think he's been excellent.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's got to be in the conversation, but he definitely, you will concede it for Harvey Elliott. You know.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think our midfield's been unbelievable, especially Xhaka, man. Man, if you had watched my channel, you know, just over a year ago in the run up to, I think, the Liverpool game, and watching All or Nothing as well when he got sent off in that game, they kind of, you know, I don't know if you guys have watched it, you know, behind the scenes, he goes into the changing room and you just see him sat there and he's just staring into space. And he knows, like, at that point, like, the writing's on the wall, you know, like, he's either going to turn it around at this stage or his Arsenal career is probably over, given, like, everything he's kind of gone through. And I think that was the catalyst for a significant change in his form and his quality. And towards the end of last season, I started warming around to the idea. Now he's our biggest chance creator this season. He's got like 3 assists, 2 goals. So, like, you know, even taking GA out of it, like the consistency that this guy is creating chances is unreal. You know, in every match. What I really liked against Spurs,
GunnerKing, can I quickly
scored that first goal, he kind of called everyone in, you know, like everyone was celebrating, called them all in for a huddle. And, you know, he's just like, you know, obviously telling them to kind of, you know, stay grounded, that the job wasn't done. So he's been taking the armband back whilst Odegaard's been injured as well. So, like, he's been sneaking that armband back around his arm again. But I think his leadership's been so vital this season.
That goes on to my point, right? There's 2 points I have. I think you'll agree. Odegaard's got the band, but the real captain is probably Xhaka. Even in All or Nothing, even him saying he wants fans to attend every training session. Yeah, like even All or Nothing, he's like, I want fans to have more fans attending our training session, whatnot. You can tell he loves the club. And this is the question I was going to ask you. Was there a point? Because I don't like to generalize fan base. Just because one fan says something, you can't paint everyone with the same brush.
I'm big on that as well myself. To be honest,
it's so annoying. And I've always said, I've been consistent. I've got receipts, tweets from 2018, 2019. Xhaka, for me, has always been a good football player. I just feel like his moments of madness and where he was playing, because I think he was never that deep line player, and his moments of madness, it influences a lot of people's opinion of him. But did you want him gone at any point? Did you want him gone at any point?
Yeah. I'm man enough to, like, you know, say that. I don't pretend I didn't have opinions or look. Opinions can be there to be changed. You know, like if they no longer apply to the present, then look, I've you know, very early on this season and towards the end of last season was already speaking of him changing my opinion of him significantly. You know, and you know, I've again made a video of it, put it up the other day, and just said I would rather be wrong about a player, and that benefits the team, than be right. You know, like, than sort of continue with an agenda against a player. Like, it's evident to see he's probably been, I would say, one of, if not our most influential player this season. You know, like when you look at, you know, sort of him creating chances, what he's brought to our team. But yeah, there was definitely a time when, like, for me, my first experience of an Arsenal captain was Tony Adams. When I go to the Emirates, I come round the back, you know, so that I can go over the bridge, so that Tony Adams' statue is the first thing I see. My like ideals of an Arsenal captain are very base, very rooted in Tony Adams, and like in that moment when he threw the armband down, it was a tough moment, but I think he's winning. He's turning it around. You know, I think his redemption arc is in full effect, and long may it continue. To be honest.
Yeah,
I agree.
But guys, look, it's Pavi. Great preview as always. I think what we'll probably end on just before we do go would be score predictions. I don't know if you guys, you know, it'd be good just to get your thoughts on what your score predictions would be and who you think the most influential player would be for your team.
Do you want to go first, mate?
Yeah, I'll keep this short and sweet. It hasn't changed from earlier, GunnerKing, so I know you're gonna have a smile on your face, but I just feel we've scored Arsenal the last 3-4 years. We've dominated and whatnot, but there's a saying all good things come to an end. I pray this doesn't happen, but I think you'll edge it 2-1. I do feel Thiago will be our most influential player because I think Arsenal's Achilles heel is the counter attack. Like I said, we're not Spurs, but Spurs didn't expose that enough. There was openings, but they didn't have the player to play that through ball.
Yeah, that final pass when they did get behind us.
The final pass where Thiago, he prides himself in that. The final pass will be there, and Salah and Diaz will be onto them balls. But I actually feel you lot will take the lead because that's been the narrative of our season. But we get back into the game, and I do feel we actually dominate more. As much as Arsenal have been dominant at home, I do feel we'll have more of the ball as we have in majority of our games this season. But I just think it'll be 1-1 for a long period of time, and it will be a dagger to our Liverpool hearts. But I feel like you lot will nick it late between the 80th and 90th minute. It will be a late-ish winger. But I just think your 12th man might be a bit too much for us. I think you'll grow into the game. I think we will start to accept the draw where you lot will be more hungry for the win during the game. And I just feel you will nick it. I pray I'm wrong, but I can't lie. A lot of content creators, like I said earlier, if they feel their team's going to lose, they just say a draw. I'm not like that. I have to be honest. So, yeah, I think you'll nick it. I pray I'm wrong, but I think you'll nick it, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take that, to be honest. But, yeah, it's not going to be easy. But what about yourself, Skev?
Liverpool win 3-0. I think we score early. I think a bounce back's come in, and I think we carry on. Key players: Alexander-Arnold. I'll leave it there. I've been George Skev.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 2-1 as well, and I think Martinelli really, you know, sort of how he shapes up on that left hand side. It'll be a toss up between him and Jesus because, as you saw with Jesus' assist, I don't know if you guys saw it against Glimt yesterday for Vieira's goal. Jesus does drift into that left channel as well. But I think, yeah, Martinelli exposing that space on the right-hand side that Trent can leave going forward. I think that's where there's joy to be had. But we'll see, man. We will see.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, we know it's going to be an entertaining game either way. It always is with Arsenal. And may the best team win. But guys, it's been good to have you guys on. Probably do a reaction show as well. Get you guys to jump on for that as well. But thanks for jumping on as always, guys. Be sure to follow their socials. We'll leave the link for that in the description. And catch you guys very soon.
Yep. Cheers, mate.